2, 3.
On the Texas A&M Sports Network from Learfield, welcome to the Coach Jimbo Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. Also brought to you in part by Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue. Visit rudys.com to find real Texas barbecue near you. And by Bud Light, it's for the fans. Now, welcome to the Coach Jimbo Show.
Howdy, and welcome to the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It is presented by Capital Farm Credit. Once again, we are at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road in College Station, as we are every week for the show with the head coach of Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher. Still time for you to come down and be a part of our show this evening. I'm Andrew Monaco. So glad that you are with us, whether you are joining us all along the Texas A&M Sports Network. Perhaps you are watching the stream on the Texas A&M Football Facebook page, or perhaps joining us on the 12th Man mobile app. Maybe even downloaded the podcast and taking us with you. You can do that on Studio 12. Here's what's ahead on tonight's show. We will wrap up Saturday's game against Mississippi State and unwrap all that's ahead for the Aggies against Alabama this Saturday, 7 o'clock at a sold-out Kyle Field. We will have your questions and much, much more. This edition of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. We'll step aside. Come on back. Coach will join me. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Barker's Heating and Cooling, proud to be the official heating and cooling provider for Aggie Athletics, earning your seal of approval since 1979. A lot has changed since then, but our pride in Aggie football and our commitment to providing great service remains as strong as ever. Gig 'em, Aggies, along with the head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, Jimbo Fisher. I'm Andrew Monaco. Howdy, Coach.
Howdy.
Time for us to look back. I said we would wrap up on Saturday. What I love when you sit down on Monday to the media availability.
I lost you.
Yeah, there I am.
There you go.
A lot of people wish for that. You know that. You have the opportunity to go back through the game tape, and you kind of explain almost, Jimbo, chronologically how the game went against Mississippi State. If you could kind of give us an idea of how you do that.
I think a lot of coaches don't like to do that. I do, because I think it's important for people to really understand what happens, and understand why things happen, why they don't, and I think it makes you a better fan. I think it makes you appreciate the game, and I think it makes you appreciate players and how. As there's a statement I always make: things are never as good as they seem, or never as bad as they seem. And the important thing to me is why. And and the players have to understand that, good and bad and different, because you can't repeat if it's good, you can't fix if it's bad. But what I think in the game, obviously we got a good start. We got off to a bad start. We had a play that we got to catch a ball across the middle. We gave up a turnover. Defense had a great stand, held them to a field goal, but we can't have the turn. We got to catch it, and we got to throw it here. But we got to throw it right another foot in front, and we got to catch it, though, when it's there. And then we come back, have a great drive offensively. The thing offensively, we moved the ball very well on the night. Ran the football better. Thought our offensive line played much better in the run game. Had a couple pass issues as we went, and I thought Zach played a better game. I think there's still plays we want back, and as a quarterback, you almost always want that. You very rarely ever play a perfect game, and there's a couple critical plays. But at the same time, we missed a critical block here and there, or we missed a critical tackle. And then we come down and get a drive, then they drive back, then we drive back, then we hold, and then we get a nice drive down for a field goal right before half, missed a block, and had a chance for a touchdown. And then, unfortunately, in 2 minutes, they come right back down. Yep. And got to – it was a momentum swings. You could never – once we got it, we kept competing and matching, and then we could never maintain it. Then we were driving for a 2-minute drive, and then all of a sudden, we get a bad snap. I mean, we're across the 50-yard line with a minute and 20 seconds to go, moving the ball very well, and, unfortunately have that happen. And then come out, hold, then we both get held. We miss a pass coming off the goal line because we only had it 4 times the second half, and have a wide-open pass, we miss it. And we had one run good and one not as good. Then they come down and score. Then we answer back and score. And unfortunately missed a 2-point conversion. And we had it. And that was a big play because we had it. That field goal ties it up at the end. And then they drive for a little bit. We get a hold. We drive back, have a great play. We're first down. And I'm not going to get into some things I got back from them, which was saying exactly what I thought. And they admitted to it. But at the same time, we ended up kicking a field goal. But then we get it back with about 2 minutes to go in the 10, and try to pop a run real quick, get 2 minute going, and then have a protection issue and miss, and we didn't get somebody open, and the game was over, and didn't get it back. And we shoot crucial things in the second half defensively. We had to give up a 3rd and 16. We had a pass interference penalty, which cost us 7 minutes off the clock. They held the ball for 7 more minutes after that in the game, which is critical. We missed a 3rd and 7 on the last drive with about 6 minutes to go. We got to do a better job there. We got to find ways to get more pressure on the quarterback, and we got to tackle better. We didn't tackle in space the way we need to tackle. Now, saying all that, there's tons of mistakes. The want to do things is there. The how to is what we have to do a better job of coaching, putting them in position to do, and they have to execute at a little better level. And we got to find a way to make one more play on offense, one on defense, and you're there. But at the same time, those inches, I always say, the hardest part of the mountain to climb is the top. That's where the most treacherous things come in, and that's where the most commitment has to be made to understand how to make those changes. And you got to keep practicing, you got to keep sawing wood, and you got to get there. And our kids want to, and we'll keep working. As you said, you saw that development from that offensive line. It was better. You saw the development of Zach Calzada. Yeah. He has been better. But it's still not where we want everything. Right. No, there's no doubt about that. And it's time in the saddle, and that's where other parts of our game. I thought Spiller and the Chain both ran outstanding in the game. I thought they had some really nice runs in the game, plays in the game. A couple they could have even had some more, but I thought 85. I thought Wiedemeyer played one of his best pure games, catching. But we missed it. We had him targeted about 8-9 times, and we got it to him only a couple. And got to get to him more. And we got to see it and get there. And they doubled sometimes, but we had some other things that we could have got it to him. And then. We got better defensively. We got some guys that played very solid games. Antonio Johnson's playing really good football. He is all over the field. Him and Namar played well. I thought Mike Clemens did a good job for the most part in what we're doing. But Antonio keeps jumping out at me the way he's playing. You told us about him last year, yes. And he was kind of dinged in the beginning. And then the Mississippi State game last year was kind of a breakthrough game. And, Jimbo, he's never come down from that. No, he hasn't. And just really emerging and keeps growing and growing and growing as a player. And doing really good player. That is such a vital spot on defense, that nickel, isn't it? Oh, it is. I mean, because you become you're a linebacker, you're a corner, you're a safety. I mean, you got to tackle, you got to cover, you got to read. The ability to process all that information is very, very important. Michael Clemens and Marv, towards the end of that game, you could see then that movement on Mississippi State because they knew that they were coming, right? They did. The pressure equals picks, coverage equals sacks, right? It does, and we got to do it, and we got to find ways to get more of it. And their quarterback did a really good job. He was accurate. He didn't get impatient. He kept dumping down, and those guys did a good job with yak yards running with football. He's Jimbo Fisher, head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, who take on the Alabama Crimson Tide on Saturday. That will be at 7 o'clock at Kyle Field. We will come back to the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit. Stay with us. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance wants to provide a trip for 12 to the LSU game on November 27th. To register for the 12th Fan trip, visit 12thman.com/12thfan. Texas Farm Bureau Insurance is a proud corporate partner of Texas A&M Athletics. We continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It is presented by Capital Farm Credit. We have checking in from Bakersfield, California. That's Brian. Marvin from Leaf River, Illinois. Corinth has checked in. Gatesville has checked in. And, of course, the Constantinos, including Effie and Nick's grandmother, auntie, and uncle have checked in from Australia as well. Well, keep checking in because he's kicking the heck out of it. Yes, he is. We are so glad he is here. I was on SEC radio with a couple of people Jacob Hester and Cole Kublik this afternoon. And they both said at the same time in agreement, look, when it comes to quarterbacks with Jimbo, he's going to get Zach Calzada where he needs to be. They asked me, and I'll ask you, where's his growth been in these last couple of weeks? What have you been impressed with his growth? I think not just you have to – when you play quarterback, I always say it's like this. It's like learning to drive, okay? You go learn in a parking lot. You learn what to do. You throw the ball. You can drive with no cars around you. Then you gradually, you learn to park and be around cars, and you get into moving traffic. Then you get into small towns, and you get into small roads. You're always on a back road. You know what I'm saying? Then you bring them into a little bit of town. And then eventually, when you get to playing with us, it's like driving in downtown Houston on rush hour. But what I'm saying is, I always equate, people say, I know this sounds crazy, I equate playing football a lot to like when you drive. You know what to do. The signs say this. You stay in your lane. This car is going to do this. This car is going to do this. Well, I didn't know he was going to do that. I didn't know he was going to do this. I didn't know this was going to speed up. I didn't know that was going to slow down. I didn't know this was going to happen. And driving a car is a reaction thing. playing football is a reaction game. We learn what to do. We learn how to do it. We learn what we're supposed to do. But then we got to apply it as it happens fast. And then when you get into big boy balls, I say, playing SEC ball, how fast it happens. It's like driving in rush hour traffic. And the more you do it, the better you do. The more saddle time you get, the more you're in the saddle, the more you ride. And you see progressions. And then you learn to relax. And what I'm saying is the thing he's learning to do is not get through everything. It's just let things happen at the pace they happen. And sometimes that's sped up. Sometimes that's slowed down. And it's based off what happens. Because if a guy gets bumped, you get pressure. All right, I always say this, well, he don't know what to do. Well, if the tackle misses a block and he's going through his 1 read and it's a deeper read, he has to dump it off to his 2 read, and that is a reaction. He's got to find it right now, or his 3 read. And the multiplicity of things that happen, and it just takes time to get through that process. And you try as a coach to put them in position to do it, to limit those things as you go, and then as they grow, you expand into what you do. And it's just a matter of time, and it gets better and better. It wasn't practice. I thought yesterday was outstanding in practice. Today was really good. Yesterday was outstanding. That's why we do that good on good, getting the rushes, getting the live, checking down, finding guys. He had an outstanding day, and he just gets better and better. But it's not where it has to be yet, but at the same time, he can get the ball across, and he's getting better.
How is his communication with you? Is he able to
he can regurgitate. He can answer why. He knows why I did that. Now I want you thinking that. Okay, I get it. Because he understands. I make our kids understand why. I think you can play the game and never understand it. That's why you have a hard time being consistent. But he's getting that point and understanding and regurgitates well, gives you the information, and we talk and get a lot of information between plays.
I like to hear his teammates talk about how they enjoy playing for him. They know he's got that leadership.
I mean, he is our guys love him. I mean, he's great, very respectful of who he is, what he is, his work ethic, and that's just quarterbacks get all the glory and all the blame, and a lot of it is his. Like I say, what a quarterback is too. When a great one's there, it's like. When you go to your house and you know the house was a wreck, all of a sudden the neighbors come over and the party starts and people think, "Why your house is so immaculate, everything's so perfect." It's like a great quarterback's like having a great mother. You know what I'm saying? She cleans up everybody's messes. Nobody knows what's going wrong on the field, and they always make the right decision to clean things up. And that's what happens with experience. I mean, somebody runs the wrong route, and I go ahead and check down to 2 and 3, and it looks like we're running the plays like crazy. When really we screwed up, or they missed a block or a blitz block, and they clean it up. And that takes experience to do it. And what you do, and you not only make your plays, you clean up, and that just takes time to understand that. And then what happens is when you have a younger guy who's playing quarterback, everybody's problems get magnified because mama ain't there cleaning up yet, because she ain't ready to clean up yet. She's learning to be a mama. You know what I'm saying? It's her first child. And I try to put things in perspective for people like that, but that's what it's like. Yeah. I mean, like I say, last year when we did some things, Kellen could clean up so many mistakes and then make so many plays. And then other guys, then those guys learn they don't quit making mistakes and let you excel. And that's part of young quarterbacks. That's a maturation process they got to go through.
Does the quarterback always have to be the eraser, or can a running back, a tight end,
No, they can. They all can be. I mean, listen, you can go break 3 tackles. You block 2 runs. Guys you get broken tackles. You get guys in the backfield. You do that where you catch a ball and run over 2 people or jump, or it's a high pass. And, and sometimes quarterbacks, you know who can go get those balls. And you put them up there and they go make a catch in between 2 people. And that's the greatness that we love about the game. You know what I mean? To see those magnificent plays. And everybody can be an eraser. Everybody can hit the deep ball or run and make 4 guys miss, or take a punt and make 5 guys miss. That's the beauty of this game, and getting those guys in space and getting them the ball.
Much more of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit. We'll step aside. We're at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Stay with us. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. The new Brookshire Brothers across from Kyle Field was built for Aggies. There's a bar serving coffee, wine, and beer. A full-service pharmacy and great values on groceries. And you'll love their grab-and-go meals. Only at Brookshire Brothers. So much more than a grocery store. We continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. We are at Rudy's. And because we're at Rudy's, Brian Zettler, who is in New Braunfels, wants to know if you're a lean or a moist brisket guy.
Mm-hmm. Both. I'm brisket, period.
Absolutely. Brian, thank you. Brian's been checking in every week, and a little member of the family as well right there. Jimbo, the bad news is you lose some players to injuries. What we talked about in your office this afternoon, it becomes opportunities. But if we go through, unfortunately, Miles Jones, you're not going to have.
Yeah.
And
we haven't really had him all year.
On Monday.
Like I said, you haven't had Hez. You think about the receivers have been playing because you haven't had Hez. You haven't had Chapman. You haven't had Chase Lane. Then you haven't had Luke Matthews, and you haven't had Haynes. So on offense, you had those 5, and then had a couple other guys off and on through that. And then you lose Miles, which he was trying to come back, and it's just trying to get it. We're just going to try and get it fixed and try to, get back the next year and see what happens. And they got to get him healthy. He never would, just wouldn't get healthy. And right now, Brian George has a foot that is messed up. So but again, that's opportunities for other guys. That's injuries are part of football. That's what you take, and you got to find a way to work around those things. And like I say, about 3 plays, and we wouldn't, you sitting there thinking everything's wonderful. And it is wonderful if you just make it wonderful. Yeah. And you got to keep playing. There's opportunities for other young guys or older guys to get opportunities. And like Jalen's doing a really good job coming back and playing and doing a real nice job as he does. And he's done a great job of staying with the program and, not hanging his head, and he's really played good football and on their end special teams. So it's a lot of opportunities for a lot of guys.
He is another guy I'm always interested. Who's going to be first in a drill? 5 will step up and be first.
He does. Yeah, he does. 5. He is a great young man. Great young man. Very talented and a great young man.
Wonderful to see that. Tyreek Chappelle now opposite Jalen Jones. You were telling us about him.
Really liked him. Just a matter of time to get him to get comfortable in first game or two, and they have nerves, jitters. I mean, saying you want to play when you get here as a freshman, that's easy to say, and that's what recruiting's about. Getting here and realize what it takes. And those guys didn't realize you walk out in front of 100,000 people. Oh. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you give him a game or two, but then I thought he did some outstanding things in that game. I mean, he is really becoming a good player, made some really good plays. He made 3 or 4 today in practice that jumped out at me. That I was very happy. Just keeps growing. I'm very pleased with his play.
You love that athleticism on the back end.
Oh, you can.
Right?
You better. You better be athletic. You better play in space. You better be able to cover. You better have ball skills.
Yeah. If you talk about, you always want quarterbacks to go in a receiver, right? Understand what receivers are going through. Same thing for receivers and quarterbacks. Is it also the same for wide receivers and secondary?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you understand what receivers do, and the game is complicated, but it's not that complicated. By certain splits, alignments, formation, there's only a certain amount of things people can do. Once you learn to eliminate all those other things that you think are in your head, just like as you get older, things you used to we used to do something, so that bothered. Well, there's no way they could do that, so you eliminate that out. So the more mature you get in those situations and understand what the other side's doing, it's like coaching. If you want to be a great offensive coach, go coach on defense as a GA for 2 or 3 years. Vice versa, because understand how they see things through your eyes and what they're trying to accomplish and what they're trying to do. And as a player, you do the same thing.
As opposed to just being rigid on this is the offense I want to run. Yeah. You see all these different offenses from the defensive eyes.
And how do they apply to the defense? Here's the thing. You can run all these offenses you want, but how does it apply to how the people are defending you? It's like a math problem. Every formula doesn't work for every problem. There's certain formulas that have to be applied on certain situations for what you're trying to get. And it's the same way. It's running game, passing game, or coverage game, or stopping the run, or whatever goes on. It's how that fits into what the other side's doing, too. It's like a puzzle. They got to fit together, and you got to stop it.
When we come back to the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit, we have questions for Jimbo. That's when we return. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. We all know that queso practically flows through the veins of every Texan at Costa Vida Fresh Mexican Grill. Queso is their pro-style offense. Costa Vida, proud to partner with Texas A&M Athletics. We continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. We're at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road in College Station. Before I get to the questions, we got some recruits coming in last week, this week. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, there's
as well.
A lot of them.
Kyle Field.
Yeah, great atmosphere, great environment, guys. A lot of kids showing up, and I spent a lot of time with some good kids. And like I say, we were very encouraged after the game, had great conversations. There'll be a bunch of them this weekend, too.
That crowd last Saturday.
Well, they were.
You could feel that baby sway.
Well, that thing in the fourth quarter, man, and that game was tight. They were making a difference. They were making a difference, and now that's what's disappointing. I mean, they're making a difference, man. I wish we could have made one more play for them to really put them over the hump, and appreciate their support because it was second to none. It was outstanding.
I know we are across Welborn from Olson, and where Olson magic happens for baseball, I thought it was going to be some Kyle magic there last Saturday night.
It was. We had opportunities. That's why I say we got to learn to do it.
So my first question comes from Ryan. Did you see the line for ticket pull this week and this weekend, and what did you think of it?
That was unbelievable. I mean, I know a bunch of our players took donuts out there, and the students and all that stuff. They've been out there helping them and doing all that. Appreciate. I mean, everybody's ready to play.
Standing that entire game. You've always said you saw Kyle Field from afar when you were in other schools, and now being here, you love the advantage.
It's second to none. I mean, and not only that, a lot of places have great environments, but it's such a great place too. I mean, it's such a nice place. It's such a loud. I mean, it's got everything.
Yeah.
It's got everything.
Yeah. Coach, this is from Wesley. We're 5 games into the season. It seems as though we've committed penalties at the most inopportune times. Many of these are committed by veteran members of the team. How do you coach discipline to prevent these costly and untimely penalties?
You shine. You do things in practice. When guys make mistakes in practice, you'll discipline guys with gassers or move them and point them out. I mean, and do everything humanly possible to make them hold themselves accountable. And like I say, some of them, from the older guys, sometimes are getting in these leadership roles. It's they got to have patience. As crazy as that sounds, even though you're the veteran guy, you want to make it so bad, you've got to learn to be disciplined and not let it happen. And it has been some of our older guys in critical moments.
For these guys in the new roles as leaders, some of them were the ones who asked the questions. Now they're being asked the questions.
And I tell you what, some guys can deal with that a lot easier. Some guys, it naturally just happens. Other guys, it takes them a little bit of time to take that responsibility. And then they feel on top of that they have to do other things. They have to do more. You know what I'm saying? They have to do something special because I'm the lead. Or if something's not going right, I got to go do more. Like I tell them, if you're behind 10 points, there's not 10-point plays. You can only play the next play. You got to do what's in front of you. You got to maximize what you do, how you do it, the way you do it. And sometimes that's a learning curve. How to be a leader and the responsibilities of being a leader, and that you got to do what you do and be the best player you can play on each play, and not try to I say this game is bigger than anybody's coached it or played it. And what I mean by that is you can say, I'm going to go make a touchdown run. Well, you better run the ball where it's got to be ran, or catch the ball where it's got to be catched, or throw the ball or tackle what's in front of it, or just take on the block and don't worry about making a tackle and fit it so somebody else makes a tackle. You can't go force the game. sometimes guys want to go do that, and they got to understand you can't do that.
It's not golf. It's not tennis. Right.
No. You're
relying on the 10 other on the field with you.
It's a team game, and it's how it's played. And those opportunities will come. If you keep doing the right things and maximizing and doing it perfectly, it will come to you, and it will happen.
That's why you always preach the trust.
You got to trust. You got to trust the process. All the time, you got to love, trust, and believe. You got to love what you're doing. You got to trust yourself, which is the hardest person to trust, because you can't blame it on nobody else. People don't realize that. Hardest person to trust yourself really deep down when you get right to it, because you can't blame nobody else. But then you got to trust the person beside you that he's going to do it right, and then you're not trying to make up or do too much. And I hear people say it all the time. Well, then that's wrong too. You know what I mean? And then you got to believe in everything that's going to happen and the way it's going to happen, and have that vision and play. I always talk about love, trust, and believe.
We have a couple more questions, but we're going to do it after this break because we'll transition into Alabama, and then it's going to be about I'll give you some time to think. Ian wants you to think about your most memorable recruiting experience in your career. So think about that one. That's when we come back to the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. Stay with us. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. The Jimbo Fisher Radio Show is brought to you by Capital Farm Credit. Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. We continue with the head coach of Texas A&M. We teased the question, gave you some time to think. Ian wants to know, what's been the most memorable recruiting experience in your career?
I can't name one. And there's not one that jumps out, because here's what you find out. When you coach and you get so connected to these players, they're all like your kids. I mean, and it's which kid do you love the most? Which family do you love the most? Which situation do you love the most? I mean, I've had so many that, it's the first time anybody in their families ever went to college. They never dreamed they could go to college. And then the only way they would ever go to college was playing ball. I mean, to see the tears in not just mom's eyes, but grandmother's eyes, aunt's eyes. To know that they have an opportunity to go do that. I mean, there's so many of those memorable situations that, kids never dreamed, or even the player himself. I remember going into one time, he was a junior, and I don't know what was, I'm trying to remember the exact situation. Anyway, I was talking to him and watched him play and said, son, and he never had any grades. And I sat down with him. I said, you can do this. I was very young. This is probably late 80s, early 90s. I mean, you have a chance to really do something. He said, you're crazy. No, you're not. I sat down and started talking to him. I said, you ever have, he said, I can't do it. Yes, you can. And all of a sudden, for 2 years, he busted his tail, got his grades, barely made it, got eligible. Went and played ball. Played in the NFL, got a college degree. Now he's a very successful businessman. I mean, I don't want to say who it is, but, they never – sometimes just letting people see themselves or what you see they can be is so – that's the greatest joy probably in coaching that you have. The relationships with the players and the families, but also letting people visualize what they thought they could never be and do things they thought they could never do. You know what I'm saying? And that's when players grow, is because not only do they, some of them see themselves as players, some of them see themselves as, I can go do that, but they don't see themselves being, well, I'm going to get a degree, I'm going to be a successful business. They say those things because, and some people grow up that they never vision that because you're supposed to say them. But then all of a sudden they realize they can do them. You start, as a person, when you start having success in things that you never dreamed you could ever do, not just what you love to do, I'm talking about different parts of your life, and you say, I do fit into that part of the world. I can do that. I am smart enough. I am good enough. I am whatever it is that you do. It's amazing how even the player how people go. And to me, that's one of the greatest joys that you can ever see. Kids say, Coach, I got the ball. Well, that's good. It's not important. But no, it isn't. Look around. Understand how to take ball and turn it into a career. Whether it's an education, in a life, in a job after ball, and all those things. You can, how to use things that you have as gifts to get more gifts. And to me, that's the greatest thing you have. And I go back to all those situations. I could sit here and seriously name hundreds, I mean, you can say thousands, but that's a lot of folks, hundreds of them, without a doubt. And that, to me, that's one of the greatest things about recruiting.
Are they afraid to dream because they've been disappointed in the past?
Sometimes, and also here it is, people say, well, their dreams are, sometimes when your dreams come true, it scares you to death because your dreams are not supposed to come true. People don't realize that. Sometimes when a dream comes true, you think about it. I really dreamed of that. That's my lifelong goal, but I'll never get that. All of a sudden that starts coming true, and you think, well, they're going to take off. Some do, and then some get scared, and then realize that, I can, that, man, this really is happening. Then they take off and go and see and do. And listen, there's trials and tribulations, just like right now. You're finding out right now, with our situation right now, how much you love ball, how much you trust yourself, how much you trust your teammates. You can never have great victories. You can never have anything without adversity. That gives you the great trials, tribulations, adversities that makes you grow. And you have to go through them, and you find out who your teammates are. You find out who isn't. It's all great when it's all going good. Now when it's not going as good, then you find out who your friends are. You find out who your teammates are. You find out, those guys go through that grind with you. And that's why some of your best friends, and some of my best friends in the world, were guys I went to college with. Even now, I got some hometown boys that I went to school with that I'm still very close with because I go back, I do. But some of my college guys, because they went through some times and tribulations and tough times that only they can understand, and that bonds you. When you go through hard, tough times together, it bonds you. You know what I mean? That's why some of these guys are finding out their best friends are going on this team right now. They don't even know it yet.
And it's when they get together years down the line.
They'll talk about it and how we overcame it. Like I said right now, all right? The way listen, everybody faces adversity. That doesn't define you. It's how you approach it, what you do about it, how you have it, and it's not going to stop. Wait till you become a husband. Wait till you become a father. Wait till you become whatever you're doing in life, and those bills come to the house in your name. That's all. I mean, all those things. You're going to revert right back to right now. Find out who you are, what you are, and how you want to approach those things. And listen, and if you're scared, you're nervous, yeah. Courage is being scared and doing it anyway. That's what you got to do. Everybody says, a crazy man's not scared. I mean, everybody wants to do it, but you got to attack things. You got to do things the right way, and they're going to revert back, and hopefully they'll grow from this for a lifetime.
The football lesson is really a life lesson.
Always is.
Yeah.
Because life rewards doing things right. Football rewards doing things right. It doesn't reward doing them wrong.
And you've always said when the keys to success change, you'll change your message.
I'll say something different. But, I mean, that's the fact.
Hasn't happened
but
yet.
Now saying it and doing it's two different things. And it's not hard, but it is hard to apply, not just to say.
Philip, your question is next because we're going to focus on Alabama when we come back to the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. We're at Rudy's, 504 Harvey Road here in College Station. Stay with us. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. Football and barbecue lovers know the perfect brisket needs the right wood, and Rudy's smokes all their meats using their delicious signature rubs in 100% oak-fired pits. Get your real Texas barbecue fix today at Rudy's or on the web at rudys.com. We continue with the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. Philip has the question because Philip did all his homework, so he's able to come to the show tonight. That's how it works. What are you going to be working on going into this big game?
Well, I mean, go back to fundamentals. Go back to things we talked about, some of the mistakes we made and what we're doing, and polishing up again. Run blocks, pass protections, throws, catches. I mean, just every fundamental thing you do. Every day is a fundamental day. You'll game plan and we'll game plan and make our schemes. But at the end of the day, when you play great, you do ordinary things better than anybody else. And the ordinary things are fundamentals, blocking and where you do things. And keep pushing those and also making our energy level in practice. I thought yesterday was outstanding. Today was good. and learn how to finish practice. Those younger players, the way we practice, we push them, and then learning how to finish at a high level and start at a high level and maintain it throughout the day, build that mental toughness.
I think about what Pat Henry has over in his office and over at EB Cushing. Don't let the day get away, right? Get better every day, correct?
You got to. It's an opportunity. You can get better every day. And sometimes it's inches. Sometimes it's small inches. And sometimes it's a foot. You know what I mean? But you got to push every day to get there.
There seems to be a little more communication on that practice field, and I love the messages going back, the reminder of one another, details, tempo, this and that, and it's not like you got to push anybody. It's just that nice.
We're getting
reminder.
better and better. We are, and understanding. It's not just how to, but guys understand how to practice. You get some of the young guys understanding that how hard it is to prepare each and every week for this week and this week or each week in which you play, every week you play, and the commitment that takes in practice. That, a lot of these guys have been so much better than everybody. These younger players, they haven't had to be challenged in practice like they are being in college, and that's part of the learning curve.
As we look at Alabama, what Nick Saban has done there, that's one of the first things you mentioned, the culture he's built there.
I mean, and guys understand that's why they come, and to do it a certain way or a long way, and then there's a standard, like I always say, standard over feelings. And that standard cannot go, and that's why we have to keep matching. That's where we have let our feelings at times not match our standard, and that's what's got to happen, and he's done a really good job of that over a long period of time, and he's got it established.
You've never discounted that they have the talent along the board, but you reminded us all on Monday, they do the ordinary things.
They do ordinary things, hand placement, hat placement, steps, eyes. I mean, and do it and doing it well. They're playing really well right now, and their older guys are playing really well. And like I say, they've had a good mix. They've lost some starters, but those guys have played a lot of ball, and the young quarterback's doing a really good job, and they have experience, and they've got a couple transfers in that's helped them, and across the board, they're playing good football, like always.
Yeah, and they got tested at Florida. And again, it's everyone expects, they're Alabama, forgetting that they lost some guys, had to replace them. That was a different experience for them.
Oh, yeah.
You certainly hope it's a different experience.
They were a two-point conversion from being in overtime or possibly losing the game. I mean, listen, everybody goes through that each and every time, and each week you grow and you build from those. And they got through that test.
Yeah, and you're hoping it's another one Saturday.
Yeah, hoping it's another one, and we're able to make one more play.
Yeah,
and we're able to make that play and do what we need to do to have success.
I always ask this to coaches, though, just being home doesn't guarantee anything.
No.
It's the execution and all that.
I mean,
correct?
You have the fans, you have the crowd, you have everything else, but still, you're on a 100-yard field. You're out there by yourself. You got to do your job, and you got to do it well. And then the support and the love and all that makes a difference. And you're in your atmosphere and environment where you're comfortable, which always helps. It makes you, a lot of certain guys play a lot better at home. You know what I mean? There's always players like that. You see it in pro ball, you see it in pro sports all the time, and what you do, but. You still got to go out there and execute and play.
We've got one more segment of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit as we keep previewing Saturday's matchup with Alabama. 7 o'clock at Kyle Field. Stay with us. This is the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show presented by Capital Farm Credit from Rudy's. This is Aggie Football from Learfield. This is the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show. It's presented by Capital Farm Credit. Our final segments for this week. Long time ago, Jimbo said that if you want to know what's going on with Texas A&M football, follow Leon O'Neal Jr. He tweeted it out this week. These coaches work their behind off to get us to buy into the culture and prepare us. This has nothing to do with the coaches. This has everything to do with us players. We can't just love ball on game days. We must take responsibility, accountability. Lord knows these coaches have.
Well, I mean, it's all of us. Listen, everybody's in that thing together, and you got to coach. You got to put them in position. You got to give them success. You got to give them the knowledge. You got to give them the things they got to do, the tools to be successful. And again, they got to play. It's a double-edged sword. It's got to happen both ways.
I like how he's one that when I asked a question earlier this hour about he was the one who asked the questions, and now he's got young guys coming to him. But I look at that dynamic, and I see that he can talk to Keldrick Harper and Damani, and then Damani's talking with Coach Elko back there. It's like the relationships evolve as the players get more and more snaps.
Well, and you learn to trust, and you learn that you don't have all the answers, and you learn that you got to rely on people, and you learn that it's better to listen than to talk. I mean, you learn more. I mean, and you got to learn and apply it in what you do, and then that's just part of growth and maturity.
You can't listen with your mouth open. Right?
Nope.
It's not possible. As we were talking in the office, I was saying that Alabama is so good at when you make a mistake, they make you pay for it. They've always been good at that, whether it's the knots, the non-offensive touchdowns. You've got some of those erasers on special teams where they've been so good on special teams in the past, in Anais and Devon Achane. It would be nice to see them be able to flip that field or give really good field position.
We had a nice kickoff return the other day, the one he got, and then Nice had a really nice punt return. Unfortunately, we had a block, which as I got back, we didn't think it was, and it wasn't, but it should have been there. But at the same time, those are there. And, and everybody says, great teams, they say, well, they take advantage of opportunities. Again, they do it with consistency. Because every time they get it, and now they're getting it at a better time, better field position because of something happens. The consistency level, that's it. I mean, you can't get bored. Now, I know that sounds crazy. Everybody gets bored. You get bored doing the same thing. Well, I got it, and you take it for granted, and all of a sudden it drifts. You know what I mean? It is a great challenge. If you ever look at great teams, I remember some of the really good teams I've been able to coach. We won 29 in a row one time. The whole time I saw there was a period of it in the middle of about game 18 to 22. I saw our kids start to get bored, and we almost lost some games because they took it for granted. And they got woke up and got back to the fundamentals and quit taking those things for granted. And you can do that very easy. People say that doesn't happen. It happens really easy because you just assume things. It's always going to be there. That's always going to happen. And that's the problem with and that's one of the things they do well. When at times we were doing well, now we've lost that. We got to get back to it.
How'd you snap them out at Florida State?
I mean, you show them. You educate. There's only one way you snap people out. You show them what's going on, how it's happening, and then you got to make a decision that's important enough for you to change. Listen, change is inevitable. You know what I mean? There's going to be change. It's your choice how you want to grow, or you want to live in vision, you want to live in circumstance. We say it all the time. You want to live in vision of what you can be, or you want to live in circumstances of what you're creating. And the circumstance of what you can create can be good or bad.
Where do you want to see this Saturday against Alabama?
Those things, living in vision and the consistency and the ability to go execute every play the next play, don't worry about the scoreboard. And I said, well, you're saying that because, no, it's not. If we were playing a high school team, it's not about the scoreboard. It's about how the scoreboard will say what you want to say when you play the way you're supposed to play. Win your battle. You got 11 guys within the concept, the offense, defense, and special teams more than the other guy wins his. Do it at the critical times. Play your tail off. Have fundamentals. Do the things you got to do to be successful in each and every play. And then do it and don't get tired of it and be relentless.
You like kicking, what was it, kick the lineman out of their tail?
Yeah, I mean, you do it. Football's a game of will. Mm-hmm. Good. I mean, whether you get, you can be on top and it can turn real easy because you give them a chance to get hope and come back. And then you find out about yourself when you get challenged. And that's what it is. I mean, football, it rewards the guy who does things right, the fundamentals, the consistency, the toughness, the effort, the discipline, the pride, the grit. That's what it rewards and always will.
And you can't just get up for number one when they come in. Right?
No,
the SEC is going to punish you if you do that.
I know this. Here's what I say. Now, people are, your opponent is faceless. It doesn't matter who you play. It matters how you play. And the pride, you get 12 times, the only time you get to play. How you play each and every time and how you prepare to play during the week. And I got school, I got tests this week. All right, but now how important is it to do that well and then do what you got to do well? And if that was easy, everybody do it. And we have to find that way. And your opponent doesn't matter. What matters is you. You control what happens to you. And once people understand that, or players understand that in life, it's amazing how much more success you have. Yeah. You quit blaming everybody else. You quit pointing fingers. You quit, there is no easy fix, but it isn't a hard fix either. It's somewhere you got to do what you got to do and keep solving to get to where you got to go.
Beat the hell out of Alabama on Saturday,
That's
Coach.
The plan. Thank you.
You got it. He is Jimbo Fisher, head coach of the Fighting Texas Aggies, and we will be with you on Saturday, 6 o'clock for the St. Joseph Health pregame show. Dave Elmendorf, Will Johnson, and I. You're going to hear from Andre White Jr. You're going to hear from Jalen Weidemeyer in that pregame show. You also hear the thoughts before the game with Alabama from Jimbo Fisher. And then at 7 o'clock, it will be the kick between the Fighting Texas Aggies and the Alabama Crimson Tide. We certainly hope that you will join us all along the Texas A&M Sports Network. Howie Ambrose, along with Tony O'Neill, the producers of the Jimbo Fisher Radio Show, presented by Capital Farm Credit. Kevin Menchow's our engineer. For the head coach, Jimbo Fisher, I'm Andrew Monaco. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks and gig 'em. This is Aggie Football from Learfield.